Oh, it almost breaks my heart to say you damn right. It's the recruiting hour, though. It's Kique Lockett Day, and there's only one problem with Orange Bloods Live. Sometimes an incredible show might have to stop because another show needs to start. We're going to have to figure that part
Yeah,
out.
like, I'm looking in the chat here. I don't know what's going on. Like Catherine's apologizing for holding up Anwar's show. I don't even know what was happening there, but
I mean, it is. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going
I'm
on,
gonna have
and
to go back and watch that. I suppose.
yeah, I feel bad. Again, I feel bad. There was a lot going on in the old fashioned today. Please, at some point, go back and check out the Wednesday crazy old fashioned show. But this Wednesday, August the 7th, is when we're recording. We've known this was going to be Kique Lockett Day for a while, so we're going to hit that a little bit. We're going to talk about a recruitment that's happening tomorrow as well. A commitment that's happening tomorrow, and we'll get into some Q&A. And in case you don't know, I'm Chad Hastings, and that guy is the managing editor of OrangeBloods.com. That is Jason Sukamel. He doesn't stop because recruiting doesn't stop. Jason, how are we? Are we hydrated? Are we ready for Kique Lockett Day?
Hydrated, ready for Kaliq Lockett Day, which will happen at noon. So we're like less than 2 hours away. You know, we're ready for Kaliq. We're ready to roll with that one. So we'll have our final answer in about 2 hours, Chad. But I'm ready to roll. So.
Yeah, we record at 10 a.m. here on Wednesdays with the recruiting hour. So yes, at noon today, when House Divided cranks up with me and Catch, it'll be Kique Lockett somewhere. I guess is he going at the school? We doing like a school gym deal, or what are we doing?
It'll be broadcast live, but he is doing it at his school, so there'll be media. I'm assuming the Rivals guy up in Dallas will be at that event. But yeah, he's doing an announcement at his school.
Very cool. All right, so jump on in that Specs chat if y'all like. We appreciate you jumping in. I know
chat is going wild. I think it's a carryover from Anwar's show. So
I know it's already going. It's already going crazy. And Gerard jumps in saying, "Please tell me we get Kaliq today." That's where we have to start, Jason. So Kique Lockett will sit down and let everybody know what he's thinking. Give me a thought on kind of where you are on Kaliq today and where this might go.
Yeah, I'm about where I have been for a few weeks now. I mean, I'm predicting Texas. You know, he's still down to 5 officially. Texas, Alabama, Florida State, Texas A&M, and LSU. You know, I know he's been having conversations with a few of those programs. There's been some confidence in Tuscaloosa. You know, they feel like they're in it. I don't gather that they, you know, as much as in Austin, as much confidence there as in Austin. LSU, not really a factor. A&M still in the mix there, or they have been in the mix, but I think they're playing from behind. Florida State, I just don't know how viable Florida State is, but, you know, Kaliq's an interesting kid. He plays it close to the vest. He doesn't really tip his hand. I'm predicting Texas. I've felt that way for a bit. We're prepared. You know, I wouldn't, if it is Texas, we'll be prepared. You know, I always say that, like, I don't write a commitment story, Chad, unless I feel pretty good about a kid committing to Texas, because I don't want to waste my time. I got other things I need to be doing or want to be doing. I'll just be honest. Hey, we're all friends here, right? I did write a Kique Lockett commitment story last night, sitting in my truck during my daughter's 3-hour gymnastics class. I have a lot of time to kill, so I wrote a Kique Lockett commitment story. I wrote my Q&A that we'll talk about here later, but you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, I know 100%, because I don't. I do not know. I mean, when Kique Lockett announces at noon, it's going to be a little bit of suspense for me. I mean, unless I hear something in the next couple hours. I mean, there are a lot of recruitments, a lot of commitments, be it for Texas or other places. I know 100% with 100% certainty this is what's going to happen. I don't know with 100% certainty with Kique Lockett. I think it's going to be Texas. I feel pretty good about that prediction, just putting the pieces together. But I'll be interested, like everybody else, when he announces it noon.
Jason, I've been reading some of your notes on this, including the Q&A, which, again, will direct people to that, orangebloods.com, if you want to see the full Q&A article. We'll go over some of the Q&A stuff that people threw out this week. But, Jason, I saw you mentioning that I think Lockett's in this category, but you're seeing more and more of these kids not telling the coaches, not telling. It's almost like these players understand the back channels in a way where they're trying to keep the coaches in the dark, because they know that keeps everybody in the dark until they commit.
There's a lot more of that, it seems like. You know, the guys that committed in July or early on, you know, you kind of, I don't know what it is, but they kind of usually give the coaches or even media a bit of a heads up. You know, you got guys like Michael Fasusi and Jonah Williams and DJ Sanders tomorrow night. And I mean, they have not told college coaches yet. Anybody who tells you, listen, I've been in this a long time, Chad, and media people love to toot their own horn, and it drives me bonkers. There will be people that tell you, oh, I knew where Michael Fasusi was going on August 1st. Like, no, you didn't, unless you're in his family, because he hasn't told anybody. He hasn't told the coaches. And a lot of times that's where things leak out. Okay, if a guy, let's say, just a hypothetical, let's say Jonah Williams commits to LSU privately, and he calls Texas and Texas A&M and Oklahoma and Oregon and everybody and says, hey, thanks for everything, guys, but I'm going to LSU. Well, a lot of times word leaks out from those other programs, not from LSU. So you're smart if you're a kid and you really want to keep things quiet. Don't tell anybody. And that's what a lot of these guys that are committing this month are doing. They're not telling anybody. You know, I don't know on Kaliq. He might, and again, we've got a couple hours. Sometimes they'll tell these coaching staffs like right at the wire. So Kaliq might tell people. So I'll be interested to talk to Kaliq after he commits and say, okay, dude, when was your mind made up? When did you tell people privately? And we'll kind of get the backstory there after he announces. But to my knowledge, I don't think he has told. He certainly hasn't told me. But you know, I think Kaliq's keeping everybody guessing a little bit.
Yeah, little suspense. Hey, it's we've talked about it. I'll say it all the time. It's one of those last times where they have some of the power. There is a transfer option, obviously, now that gives them a little more power. But once they make that choice, you know, there's a lot of that kind of goes away. So they're trying to make it dramatic. Speaking of making it dramatic, Jason, let's update everybody on this other name that we put in the title. We put Kique Lockett's name in. That's noon on Wednesday, noon today as we're recording on this August the 7th. We also mentioned the name DJ Sanders. Big dog D tackle out of Belleville, and he's going to decide tomorrow. We knew it was tomorrow. We just didn't know the time, Jason. Technically, it's not really tomorrow because he's going Nightcrawler on us.
You know, how does that work? Is it does the clock flip to the next day or the calendar at midnight, or is it 12:01 midnight plus 1 second? What is the tech? I don't know the answer to that.
It's a good technicality. I've always been a believer that when it hits midnight, you're at the next day. Okay. So I'm going to say, if he says it's midnight tomorrow, I think my man's really going on Friday.
Yeah, you're probably right. So we need to look into the technicality of that. But we just gave away the answer. Yes, DJ Sanders, the Belleville defensive tackle. I've been texting with people close to him this week, just kind of getting a little bit of information, because you talk about a guy that doesn't give away much. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do much of anything. He is committing on Thursday, and it'll be Thursday night at midnight, Chad. So I will be taking a nap Thursday afternoon and probably have a couple beers in me by Thursday at midnight. So forgive me for any typos in my DJ Sanders story if he commits to Texas. But yeah, he's going to commit Thursday at midnight. He's an interesting dude. Like he just hates, I don't know if he hates the media or just recruiting in general. He doesn't talk to college coaches a lot. Sometimes they'll hit him up and he doesn't respond for like a week. Okay, these are guys that could be your position coach in college. He doesn't talk to the media at all. Now he's committing Thursday at midnight. It's almost like he's like, hey, I don't really want anybody paying attention. I know people close to DJ Sanders this week said, hey, DJ, let's do like a live stream video. Let's do it live. We'll get media involved, this, that, and the other. DJ's like, nope. I'm going to call the coaches at midnight, and I'm going to put it on social media, presumably. Hopefully he does that, and that's it. And then he's just going to walk away and go do his own thing. So, so DJ Sanders will announce his decision Thursday at midnight. Texas A&M, and Michigan are all in play there. Chad, I'm not ruling anything out on that dude. I mean, I got it like 50-50 Texas versus the field. And that's kind of a cop-out, but I just don't know. I don't think his coaches know. I don't even know if DJ knows. I'm assuming he probably does today, but, you know, I don't know that he's told anybody. I know he hasn't told college coaches. So I think Texas is in a decent spot there. I've always thought it'd be Texas or Texas A&M. I just thought, okay, small town guy in Texas. Is he really going to go all the way to Michigan? It's possible. DJ clearly marches to the beat of his own drum, so anything's possible. But I've always felt Texas or Texas A&M would win out there. There was some chatter, other media folks were like, no, it's not going to be Texas A&M. They're not pushing for him. I've been told, yes, they are pushing for him. So I still think it'll come down to Texas or Texas A&M. But honestly, I just don't have a good read on that one. I don't think anybody does.
So late Thursday night, Sark, Mike Elko, and anybody else invited, Jason, and a lot of the rest of us will be just, wow.
We'll be like refreshing his Twitter feed over and over and over.
What time is it? Was 11:40? Bring me some more coffee. Bring me some more. Maybe Jason, his plan is he'll commit to whichever coach is awake.
Yeah, whoever answers his call. You know what? Hey, I say jokingly, whichever coach answers his call and is still awake, that's who he'll commit to. I know a kid, and I'm not going to name names, but he tried to commit to a school. It was your Texas A&M Aggies. They didn't answer his call, and this is a big time national prospect.
Right.
So he's like, you know what? Screw it. They're not answering my call. He picked up the phone and called Texas and committed. So
wow.
Yeah, no, he ended up decommitting later. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so I mean, hey, crazier things have happened, Chad.
There you go. Just answering the phone is sometimes the biggest deal. We'll see how that goes tomorrow night. So late tomorrow night, as we sit here on this Wednesday, is going to be DJ Sanders. And we did have somebody in the chat. Let me make sure I get that because it was a super chat. Thank you, Oscar. $4.99 for the super chat. Sanders would be huge. What are those chances? Also, Vince Vaughn, top 5 comedic actor of his generation. That's a weird throw in at the end.
I like it.
You like that one? You like top 5?
Yeah, I like the question, just period. Yeah, like first of all, I'll touch on the Sanders thing. What are the chances? I think in my Q&A, and I know we'll probably touch on that, I put it at 50%. I just mentioned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put it at 50% Texas versus the field. Honestly, I just don't have a great read on DJ Sanders. I wish, Oscar, I could give you more intel there. But again, he's not telling anybody. I don't think college coaches know. I know there's a little bit of confidence in Austin, but same with College Station. I think Michigan thinks that they've got a fighting chance. So I just don't know the answer to that. I mean, Texas has a legitimate shot, obviously, but I don't really know how to handicap every school in that one. So Vince Vaughn, top 5 comedic actor of his generation. I love Vince Vaughn, dude.
Yeah, I dig Vaughn.
Yeah, I would say his delivery is just, it's so fast and witty, and I think it's fantastic. He did the one Wedding Crashers. Is that Owen Wilson? I always forget.
That was Owen. Yeah, he and Owen. That's a good one. Obviously, Swingers is excellent.
Oh yeah, dude. He's got a ton of them. He's got a new one that's coming out on Apple TV. I think I want to watch. But yeah, I would say top 5, and I think Owen Wilson's a fantastic comedic actor. You put the two of them together in Wedding Crashers, and I was dying laughing throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So would like Vince Vaughn, Ben Stiller, and Adam Sandler all be in the same generation? Would that be the same?
Yeah, I think so. I'm probably in the minority of that group. I would probably put Adam Sandler below the other ones. I think Ben Stiller is really funny. I love his delivery. So Sandler's great, and he writes his own movies and does all that stuff. But I just don't find him as humorous, maybe, as the other dudes. So.
Yeah, Oscar, I'll go with that. I'll go with the top 5 for Vince Vaughn. I always enjoy Vince. Always smile when I see Vince Vaughn. So, yeah, there you go. I'm not sure what created the Vince Vaughn shout out, but nothing wrong with that. All right, if you want to throw in another super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. And as we mentioned at the beginning, I'll just throw you up a QR code to remind you. There's all kinds of stuff going on at orangebloods.com right now with practice reports. Somebody was asking us in the chat about CJ Baxter. There's still a bit of a waiting going on there. It was Anwar of Orange Bloods, of course, Anwar Richardson, that broke the story about CJ Baxter, a story you don't want to break, obviously, but it's extremely important to the team. A knee injury for Baxter. We're in the waiting mode for how bad that could be, Jason. So that's obviously now just a total a holding pattern, if you will, for Texas fans, kind of holding their breath, because obviously CJ Baxter, such an important part of this team. If he's out for, let's take the best version of an injury. Obviously, the best version would be he doesn't miss any time, but let's say it's somewhere in the middle. If he doesn't go to Ann Arbor, That's a game where Texas may need to, play and win a down and dirty kind of football game. Baxter would be really important there. That'd be a big loss if he's not there for that game.
Yeah, you're probably going to need some tough running in the fourth quarter in that game, right? So, I mean, Jaden Blue is fantastic. I think Jaden Blue, I thought maybe he might be running back one anyways, but Baxter is the big kind of pounder back that can wear down defenses. So if he's not available, what do you do there? Do you play Trey Wisner? Is it one of the true freshmen that are going to pick up action? So be interesting. Like you said, we're still waiting. Doesn't sound great. Anytime you hear knee and things like, hey, he couldn't walk off the field. That makes you think he's going to miss a pretty decent amount of time. So, it's just weird. I was at practice yesterday for the first 30-ish minutes or whatever they let us watch. And I had a picture of CJ Baxter. I was like, oh, that's a great picture of CJ Baxter. And then 2 hours later, like, oh no, knee injury to CJ Baxter later in the day. So, hopefully for his sake, for the team's sake, hopefully it's minor and he comes back soon. But it just based on the early word, I mean, it does sound like he'll probably miss some time, but we need to wait for official word on that.
So definitely check out orangebloods.com for all the practice reports, all those great pictures that Jason's been taking at practice and in the time that they've been able to get a look at some practice, war rooms on Thursday nights, the incredible message board, all that stuff. Check out orangebloods.com. And the full Q&A article is up at orangebloods.com, and we will start digging into that. Before we do, let's just remind you about specs. People are piling in. I got 430 up here that have piled into the specs chat. We appreciate you there. If you need to get stocked up for the weekend, don't forget specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
They do have a lot of great stuff. Always a good, there's always a good reason to go make a Specs run. So shout out to Specs. All right, Jason, let's go through some of the Q&A. I grabbed some stuff off the article as we've done before. And I just like this, the question's one thing. The permission is another. I like that. Permission to have my confidence very, very high from one fan. How do you let them go very and very? That's a lot of varies.
Yeah, the permission is a kind of a throwback. It was a few years ago. Ketch wrote a column, and I'm trying to remember what he was referencing. It was the football program. I think it must have been the football. He's like, hey, I give you permission to dream big. So everybody now says, do I have permission to do whatever? So permission to have my confidence very, very high. In the Q&A, I said, hey, always, of course. But I said, honestly, yes, confidence should be high, but I would say have cautious optimism because, as we said at the top of the show, I like Texas's chances with a lot of these guys. Kaliq today, DJ Sanders, Michael Fasusi, even Jonah Williams, who, 3 weeks ago, I didn't think Texas really had much of a shot at all there. But I like Texas's chances. Michael Terry, there's a lot of guys that are going to probably announce in August. I like Texas's chances with a lot of them. But you know what? Hey, there's also a good chance that those guys, or a decent chance those guys might wind up going elsewhere. So, there's confidence in Austin. People in Austin inside the walls of the football program have confidence. So they usually have a pretty good read on things, but I've seen people miss before on those estimations. So permission to have his confidence, his or hers, very, very high. You have permission, but I would say cautious optimism is the way I would operate.
Maybe one vary, but not both vary.
There you go. One vary. Yes.
Take one vary and put it up on the shelf. We'll see where that goes. All right, Jason, how about this one? You kind of talked about earlier. How many commitment stories do you have written up right now? This was a different answer when you did the Q&A article. Yeah. So right now, as we are recording on this Wednesday morning, how many stories do you have written up?
Well, I told you, like literally sitting in my truck, right? Last night, I wrote a Kique Lockett story. But in my Q&A, I said, hey, I don't have any written up right now. But so that tells you I wrote my Q&A before I wrote the Kique Lockett story. Uh-huh. How many commitment stories do I have written up? I have one, and I will have two by the end of the day today. And honestly, there are a couple others I need to write, but I usually wait till closer to those announcements. I'm not one who writes up. I know some guys, I'll talk to them, they're like, oh, I've got 10 commitment stories in the can just in case. I'm like, you must have a lot of free time or no kids or something, because I'm only writing those suckers if I feel really good about a guy committing to Texas. So the answer to that is I have one written up right now, Chad, but it'll soon be, I think, depending on what I hear today, it'll soon be two.
Okay, 1 and 2 may be on the way. Going through some Q&A stuff. You can read the full article at orangebloods.com. I kind of like this one because on the House Divided show and on all the shows he's on, Ketch has been talking about the sources he's talked to in the last few days, maybe last week or so. They're very excited. They're very bullish. They're very confident that there's going to be this big wave of, commitment and recruiting momentum. Are you as bullish as Ketch and his sources?
I thought that was an interesting question, because I don't think it's Ketch that's as bullish as maybe his sources are, right? So sometimes people confuse that stuff. Like, I'll report something, I'm like, hey, this is what a source in Austin is telling me. And then a kid goes, they're telling me, oh, it looks good for Texas. And then a kid goes elsewhere. They're like, you were saying he was going to Texas. Like, no, I wasn't. I'm telling you what someone else said. I said, I never felt that strongly. So, but the answer to that question, am I as bullish as Ketch's sources? The answer to that is no, I'm not. I mean, I know what Ketch reported. I think it wasn't in the War Room. It was actually last week. He reported in a separate story, just like, hey, this could be a monumental class. I don't remember the exact wording, but just wait and see, blah, blah, blah. Things are, and if I look at my answer here, I said, Ketch and I think are in lockstep right now on which guys we think Texas is going to land, but I don't have quite the confidence level. It's not quite as high as maybe some of the sourcing that we're using coming from Austin. Just, like I said Fasusi, Jonah Williams, those guys haven't told coaches about their decisions. DJ Sanders have not told the coaches about their decisions. People in Austin feel really good, but you know what? I can't be that confident if those dudes still, are kind of figuring things out, if they're still undecided, if they haven't told these sources in Austin, hey, I'm definitely coming. So their confidence is a little bit higher than mine. I said, do I like Texas's chances to win out on several of these upcoming August announcements? Absolutely, I do. Do I consider them near locks? No, absolutely not. So my confidence is high, but not as high as some of these comments we're hearing from sources in Austin.
All right, there you go. I do like this one. We were just talking about DJ Sanders, so let's throw in the obligatory. How many D tackles? What are you thinking in terms of the way this class is rounding out?
Yeah, first off, can I get a hat tip? Give a hat tip to Scott in Texas for the chat. But are you in Lockett step? He just said instead of lockstep. Yeah, so way to go, Scott. That's good, dude. So
yeah, that's we'll go flash. That's good. Well done.
Yes, am I in Lockett?
Well done.
We'll circle back to Kaliq here in a bit before we sign off. But how many D tackles? I'm expecting them to get one more. I think they would like to have more than one, but I just don't know. I looked at their offer sheet, their offer list, and there are a couple not guys that are really strongly considering Texas. There are a couple guys that Texas offered at defensive tackle that, from my knowledge in talking to these kids, Texas could have got their commitment anytime they wanted it. Okay. But Texas kind of pulled back and said, you know what? Hey, we're going to just kind of reevaluate things. We got a new coach. We're going to let him do his own evaluations. So those guys wound up committing elsewhere. So could we see a scenario, Chad, where one of those guys just blows up his senior year and Kenny Baker says, whoa, okay, I think I want that guy after all. And then Texas puts a call in, that guy winds up taking a visit and flipping? Absolutely. I could see that happening. But right now, I think it's kind of DJ Sanders, almost DJ Sanders or bust. So I think one more defensive tackle seems reasonable, but I could see that number going up if Texas tries to make a run at one of these guys that are committed elsewhere.
If it's not DJ Sanders, Zion Williams on a flip later on?
Zion would probably be at the top of the list. He's, of course, committed to LSU. He is expected to take an official visit to Texas. That's not one of the guys where Texas pulled back. Okay, he just chose LSU. So Zion would make a lot of sense, especially since he's already talking, hey, I'm going to take a Texas visit. I would put him at top of the list, but there's a couple others I think that Texas will keep an eye on this fall as well.
Only thing is, Jason, they say it's tough enough to get a Lufkin guy out of the trees. It's really tough to get him all the way from Louisiana out of those trees. There's a lot of trees between Baton Rouge and Austin. There's just a lot of them. So you got to be careful.
And, Zion, listen, it wasn't just a fluke that he committed to LSU. I mean, everybody just thinks, Texas fans, just sometimes I think are a little overconfident. Oh, we can flip whoever we want, whenever we want. Well, no, it's not always that easy. I mean, Bo Davis does a good job. He committed to LSU for a reason. So Zion will be in play, but it won't be an easy flip for sure.
Yeah, keep an eye on that one. But obviously tomorrow night at midnight, everybody get your coffee ready. DJ Sanders. Don't say they're not staying up late in Belleville. They're staying up late in Belleville, at least tomorrow night.
His coach is probably like, damn it, we got practice Friday morning, DJ. Come on.
Man. You know what, coach will probably either he'll extend that practice on Friday morning, or they'll do like a practice that ends at say 10:45 at night on tomorrow night.
That's a smart idea. And then like, DJ, I'm going to make you run a couple extra gassers for making me go through all this.
Yeah. You know what they should do? Do like a midnight madness practice. Do like a 10 p.m. Right?
Hey, they might. Who knows? They might.
Throw your lights on. Do a 10 p.m. practice. Tell the whole town to show up. And then when he announces, have like the whole town behind him and flood lights, and it'll be great.
See, you should be running PR down there.
Yeah, make it the end of Bagger Vance. Everybody turn your trucks around, and it'll be great. That'll be country if they use truck lights. That's Belleville country right there. All right, Jason, you love this is a question we get all the time, but just your updated thought on where do you see the final high school, that class ranking for the 25 class for Texas. I had it pulled up here, and right now, as I'm saying it, I see it at 20, according to Rivals. Where do you think it could end up?
And that could get a big boost if they get Kique Lockett, right? He's a national top 50-ish type of player. So that would give them a boost probably into the top 15-ish. My answer to that is, Chad, I think it'll be a top 5 class, okay? And I wasn't saying that 2 months ago. I was thinking, 8 to 12-ish, but I think it's got a chance for top 5. I think it has a chance for top 3, but that means you've got to win out on Kique Lockett. You've got to win out on a Michael Fasusi, a DJ Sanders, a Jamie French, a Michael Terry, okay? If Texas can have the kind of August that I'm thinking they have a chance to have, then we're talking top 5, maybe top 3 class. So, we'll have a much better handle on these recruiting rankings at the end of August, okay? Because a lot of these guys are going to announce. And that's always a little bit tricky because the other teams that are kind of in that same category, I'm not completely up to speed on who they're still recruiting and what their chances are with their top targets. I mean, I'm hyper focused on Texas and Texas only. So, but I think if Texas lands a good chunk of those guys that I just mentioned, including maybe like a Jonah Williams, you could throw him in there too. If Texas lands a good chunk of those big time August announcements that are about to start rolling in, yeah, I mean, I think this class could be certainly top 3, but I to be safe, I'd probably say around that top 5 mark.
Yeah, and that's a great point. If Kique Lockett ends up picking Texas at noon today, then that certainly would change. You would think definitely would go inside of the top 20 for Texas, and interesting to see how far that would go. It is the recruiting hour on this Wednesday. It's Kique Lockett Day. He's going at high noon on that commitment. Be sure to check out House Divided today at noon because the announcement will be right there. And
how do you guys do that? I'm curious. I don't even know. Like, do you sit there and watch the announcement and kind of talk as it's going down, or just
it turns into a goofy watch along real fast?
All right.
Absolutely. Yes. We'll be watching and doing old man play-by-play on young man commitment.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
It's a lot of fun. And
he's a fun one. I mean, you and I have talked a bunch, like if you haven't done it yet, you have an hour and a half, right? In between when Chad and I finish up our show, you have an hour before the House Divided starts. Don't do it now. Don't do it then. But in between those two shows, go look at Kique Lockett's huddle film, man. I watched it again today because I need to refresh. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's so freaking fun. I mean, that first play you've talked about it, a one-handed diving stab. I mean, his ball skills, and I said this on Orange Bloods, they're as good as anybody in the country. This is a guy, he's 6'2", Chad. He has a 6'7" wingspan. 10 and a quarter inch hands. He's got huge hands.
Wow.
Snatch that ball up. But like, he makes contested catches look routine. And I'm talking like where these guys, there's a couple where guys are interfering with him and stuff. No bother. He goes up and he makes the catch anyway. So it's a really fun film to watch. And I talked to Kaliq. He said, hey, the one thing he's really working on is his speed. He's not a burner. He carries his pads well. I always use that expression. He's not a guy that's going to go out and burn it up on the track in terms of pure track times. But he has football speed. He's fast on you don't see guys running him down. He runs away from people. He makes guys miss. But his ball skills in the open field or contested catches, whatever, downfield, are honestly maybe as good as anybody I've seen in the country. DeCorian Moore is fantastic, but in terms of pure catching ability, I don't know that there's a player that I would put above Kique Lockett in this recruiting class. So my whole point with that rant, go watch his huddle film. It's fun to watch. You and I've done it, I know, multiple times. And obviously with him committing today, it's a good time to remind everybody. It's a fun few minutes. Go watch. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Just watch like 3 or 4 plays. You'll be like, okay, I get it with Kique Lockett.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm saying if you only have 8 seconds, that is all it will take to see that first catch. It is unbelievable. The other thing, Jason, that keeps standing out to me every time I watch the highlights, and I don't know that I've ever described a receiver this exact way, but his upper body and lower body are very different to me, the way they move, the movement. His upper body is loud and physical and nasty, but his lower body is like smooth. There's a smoothness to his gait, the way he runs. You were talking about the movement. It's just a really unique combination where there's a violence to his upper body, but his lower body, the legs and the way the trunk moves, it's very smooth and kind of that silky movements. That it's really interesting to watch. So check out that video, and then obviously check us out at noon, and we'll see what Kique Lockett wants to do.
And most guys that have that kind of ability in contested catches, you think, okay, he's a big receiver, he's a big physical receiver. He is 6'2", so he's got some length to him. Mm-hmm. But he's only 172 pounds, I think, is what we've measured him at a rivals camp. So he's still pretty lean. I mean, he's got, and I've seen Kaliq in person a couple times. He's not what I would consider a big receiver, but he plays like a big receiver. So I mean, again, fantastic prospect overall, very productive, big time player that somebody will be getting today at noon.
Yeah, Colby says top 3 class, and I'm not asking for permission. Yeah. Well done, Colby. Can
you put up Mike Torres's chat? Says, I have to think Kique Lockett is committing to Texas now that OB is doing a watch along. Was there one for DeCorian? Now, to be clear, that's not a watch along. He just happens to be announcing during the House Divided show, which is every day at noon. So
yes,
and there was not a watch along for DeCorian because he did it on 4th of July. So we all were kind of like, okay, I'm watching DeCorian, but I'm also barbecuing and hanging out with friends or whatever. So there was not a watch along for DeCorian. Technically, there's not a watch along that's scheduled for Kique Lockett either. So it just happens to coincide with the House Divided with Chad and Ketch.
Yeah. So Mike, we're going to try to find the streaming version of it, and then we'll be reacting to that. So that's what's going on. And then here's a good one from Scott. Will a Lockett commitment improve Texas chances with any others? Jason, I would just ask, outside of the position, would his commitment today affect DJ Sanders in your mind, or is all this separate?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I don't think at all. If there's one, you could maybe suggest Jamie French, because they've talked about playing together. That was back when him and Kaliq and Jamie French and DeCorian Moore were saying, oh, we might play together at the same college. So maybe it might affect Jamie French. I will say that Kaliq is close with KJ Lacey, the Texas quarterback commitment. That obviously KJ's already committed, so that doesn't really affect Texas's chances. But maybe he and KJ then start working on Jamie French. All right, dude, we need a 1-2 punch at receiver. So maybe something like that. But I don't think it really impacts. If I'm being honest, I don't think it really impacts anybody else. Other than, it gives Texas a little bit of recruiting momentum. You say, okay, hey, it's going to be a big month of August. We just reeled in a top 50-ish type player in the country. Gives you a little bit of momentum you can sell to other recruits, but I think these other recruits are going to make their own decisions kind of regardless of what Kique Lockett does today.
All right, Jason, as we round out the Q&A stuff, and again, check out the whole Q&A column at orangebloods.com. Somebody threw you a question about rate the following in terms of your confidence Texas signs them, and they threw 7 names at you. So I'm going to get your thoughts on all 7 in terms of confidence. If you want to throw a percentage at me or however you want to do it. And we'll just go ahead and start with Mr. Lockett. Do you think Kique Lockett Day will be a burnt orange Kique Lockett Day?
I do. I put it at 65%, which if you follow me, if people paid attention to me for years, Texas fans are like, you're too conservative with your percentages. So 65% with me is a pretty good amount. Like when I do my recruiting board, I don't usually go above like 70% unless I pretty much know a dude is going to commit to Texas. So 65% means I'm feeling pretty good about Texas's chances. So I've got Kique Lockett at 65% is how I rated my confidence.
All right. All right. 2 weeks from today, it's this guy, Michael Fasusi. Your confidence level on Fasusi, the badass O-lineman out of Louisville.
Yeah, he is a badass for sure. And I've got him at 55%, which honestly might be a little higher than some other people. I think if you asked people in Norman, Oklahoma, they would say, hey, Jason, you're crazy, because they feel like he's going to go to Oklahoma. But I've been sticking to my guns on that one. I think Texas wins out in the end. I trust Kyle Flood. He's a fantastic recruiter. Development, the things that can matter. I mean, and listen, all of these recruitments, NIL makes these things harder than ever to predict. Okay. These things can change 10 minutes before a guy announces. NIL can change things. So it's not as easy to predict these things with a high confidence level as it used to be. NIL certainly changed that. But I just continue to think Texas has to win with Michael Fasusi. So I'm putting Texas at 55% versus the field.
Before we continue, look at Tim. Tim just walked right by the piano and threw a couple bucks in the old snifter. Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you. We appreciate you there.
You got a question, Tim? Throw it in there. We'll get to it. But I appreciate that.
All right, up next, Jason. There are 2 Fs involved, and if he says anything but Texas, there'll be a 3rd F involved on August 30th for Texas fans. How about Jamie French, your level of confidence?
Yeah, you know what? 2 months ago, I would have had that one at 65-ish%. Jamie French just recently listed LSU and Miami as his top 2, right? So common sense would say I should have Texas at like 35, 40%. No, I've got Texas at 55%. I'm not buying that Miami LSU talk. I think Miami is very much a player there. I'm not so sure about LSU. I think it's Jamie French just trying to, kind of throw a smoke screen out there, maybe get everybody going different directions and then have a surprise. So I've got Texas at 55%. I still favor Texas landing Jamie French despite what he is saying publicly.
And again, Jamie French is August 30th. Fasusi is the 21st. Lockett, who, of course, we started with, is this day. We're recording on Wednesday, the 7th. This next guy, Jason, I don't think we have an actual day yet, but I think it's August for Michael Terry. Give us an update on your confidence level. But also, am I right? Do we know yet when this happens?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, he has said he'd like to decide before his senior season starts, right? So we're assuming August, but hey, if he's still torn, I mean, Michael Terry's not a guy that's going to be forced into a decision before he's ready. He and his family they're just very thorough in everything they do. They handle things the right way. They're going to take things slowly if they need to. So I think it'll happen in August, but I don't know for sure. Or I don't think he knows for sure. There's no firm date yet. But I put him at 65%. And I still think it'll be Texas or Oregon. Okay. Nebraska's still in play there a little bit. He did visit all 3 of those programs at the end of July. I know that Texas visit went really, really well. I haven't heard much about the Oregon visit. Haven't heard much at all about Nebraska. Listen, Oregon, we keep saying it. Hey, you can't discount Oregon, right? In this day and age of recruiting. We've seen Oregon recruit really well. But the message that Texas has been giving to Michael Terry about how they would use him and, hey, come be our Swiss Army knife on offense, do a little bit of everything, really has been resonating with him. I think his family would like to have him close to home. I think Texas has a really good shot there. I've got Texas at 65%.
All right, there is Terry. All right, there are a couple on this list that would need to be flips, and this person couldn't resist. getting your thoughts on Decorian Moore. Updated confidence level that Decorian Moore would flip to Texas.
Yeah, I've got him at 35%. I just listen. He committed to Oregon, and Texas fans like, we're not worried. I mean, same when he committed to LSU, we're not worried. We'll flip him. Boy, he sure seems really, really happy with that Oregon commitment. He's been back up to Oregon since he committed on July 4th. Okay, he went back up there in late July. I don't know. I think flipping to Decorian Moore is going to be really, really tough. So. I mean, Texas is not going to give up. I mean, the guy's an elite prospect. Could he possibly show up for a game or something? Maybe. Did you show up for like the Georgia game because, hey, it's a great football game and it's a couple hours down the road? Possibly. He might show up for a game, which will get everybody excited. I just think in the end, it's going to be tough to flip Decorian Moore. So I put that one at 35%.
All right, your updated thoughts on Sanders, Mr. Midnight, tomorrow at midnight on that Thursday or Friday at midnight, however you want to look at it. Your confidence level with him?
I put it at 50% because I'm not going to lie, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be Texas or Texas A&M. But if he commits to Michigan, I'll be like, okay, yep, makes sense too. Michigan does a good job. Obviously, they won a national championship. You look at the D-line, their interior D-line, especially of late. They do a good job there. They've developed players. So nothing will surprise me. I just think, I keep saying this, I'm like, he's a small town Texas dude. Those dudes usually stay in Texas, somewhat close to home. Honestly, Texas A&M maybe makes the most sense if you're looking at it from that viewpoint, right? College Station versus Austin. It's closer. It's a smaller town, but I've got him at 50%, Chad. I'm favoring Texas. Maybe I should have put 51%, maybe, but I just don't really have a good feel on that one. So, like I said, I'll be watching that one at midnight, just like everybody else, waiting for my answer to come in.
God, it'd be great if he flipped a coin at midnight. Just make everybody stay up super late and then flip a coin, even if it's not real. Like make it
exactly. There is a
drama.
There was, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Chris, somebody did that, flipped a coin like on camera at his ceremony. And I was like, dude, it was so rigged. It was either a two-sided headed coin, or
right.
He just didn't show it to everybody and committed to Texas. But it was like total gimmick. Like you really didn't just flip a coin. We all know better than that.
The two-face coin flip. I like that. And before we get to this last one, somebody says, oh no, wait, that's not it. Sorry. Could DJ Sanders be our first Sark after dark? Tim, it's possible. I kind of like, Jason, that it would come down to a midnight decision between Texas and Texas A&M. We know Aggies do stuff at midnight all the time. And Sark after dark has become a thing. He's a Cali guy. He's used to being up late doing stuff.
It's been a while since we've had a Sark after dark. I can't really think of one recently. So, yeah, it'd be the first one in a while. And, hey, real quick before we I know one more Riley Pettijohn was asked about in that question. Like, what is my confidence with Riley Pettijohn is pretty low. I had him at 20%. I just think he's pretty firm with his Ohio State commitment. And I saw somebody in the chat, Vivek, who, hey, thanks, Vivek's always such a loyal viewer. So didn't we say the same thing about Smokescreen and Pettijohn? I did wonder that, Vivek, for a minute. Whenever Riley told me in Jacksonville, Florida, he goes, yeah, it's Ohio State or USC, Texas is down. And I was like, hold on, because we had that dude, he shows up with a Texas backpack, right? And everybody had that dude going to Texas for so long. I was like, all right, is he trying to throw us off? But then the more I poked around, I was like, nope, it's going to be Ohio State. So, but I did have those same thoughts. Vivek it's right. I did have those thoughts for a minute that maybe Riley Pettijohn was just playing games. But the more I dug around, I was like, okay, it really is Ohio State and USC, and it really is going to be Ohio State. So, but yes, it certainly crossed my mind that Riley was messing with me for a minute.
Vivek, thank you for that chat. Thanks to over 600 folks in the Specs chat right now. Thanks to Specs for being a great partner, and thanks to everybody for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. So 2 big things going on this Wednesday as we're recording. Kique Lockett will make his decision at noon, and then we continue to wait for the update on CJ Baxter and the knee injury that occurred at practice. And there's going to be an MRI at some point just to double check on where things are. And you would hope that If he has to miss time, he's not having to miss a lot of time. Those are the two big things that we're waiting on today. So come on in and wait with us. Orangebloods.com. Let me just throw that code up one more time as we get ready to wrap up. Jason, we've hit, obviously, Kique Lockett, DJ Sanders was the big focus. We hit some Q&A. Anything else you want to get out before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so, Chad. We've got, I'm trying to pull up my calendar here. If you can bear with me 1 second here. Mm-hmm. You got DJ Sanders tomorrow night. Nate Tillman's a safety that's going to announce on Saturday this weekend. Texas, TCU. There's some, schools in play there. Utah. I don't have a great feel that one's going to be Texas. I thought when Texas first offered him, it might be, but now there seems to be some more talk about some of these other schools in Texas. He's a safety, and of course, Texas now backing with Jonah Williams. So I'll be watching that one on Saturday. But if people wondering, do I have a commitment story written? No, I don't. But Nate Tillman's another guy that'll be announcing this weekend that I'll be watching. So I would suggest people keep an eye on that one just in case.
So between the end of this show and the beginning of House Divided, do what Jason said. Get hydrated, get ready to go. Maybe get yourself some coffee. Go watch the Kique Lockett huddle video and the highlight videos if you have not seen it. And then we'll all convene back at noon here on Orange Bloods Live. Ketch and I'll try to figure out a way to see Kique Lockett making that choice, and then we will let you know when he does. And obviously, Ketch will get you the immediate reaction on whatever Kique Lockett.
Hey, Mike Torres just put up a comment. Sorry, if you can throw that up real quick. He asked.
This one?
Yes, he asked. I had to have been on Almar's show yesterday. He said, "Who's most likely, Jonah Williams in Texas or Ayuk to Pittsburgh?" And I was like, Jonah, because Ayuk is not going to Pittsburgh. Right? It's been ruled out. Well, now as of last night, it's like, hey, Pittsburgh is re-engaged or back in it with Ayuk. So. Now, Mike, I don't know the answer to that, dude, but that just shows you things can change in a hurry, right?
It's weird, Jason, as we talked about before, for people that don't know, you are a Steelers fan. I'm married to a Steelers fan. Yeah. My wife the other day says, hey, did you hear we're getting Ayuk? And I said, oh, no, I hadn't really heard it. So I just put it out of my brain. I just put that as, okay, Steelers are getting him. And then I see the stories about the Niners are still trying to figure out a trade. The Patriots aren't interested, but the Browns and Steelers might still be. So I guess it's still in the works. And maybe a little different than they thought it was the other day, but yeah, we'll continue to look for that with Brandon.
Yeah, I'm so as I got that notification on my phone last night. I was like, oh, and I actually literally I thought of Mike's. I was like, oh shit, I was so wrong on that one. So
there you go, Mike. Thank you for jumping in, Mike. As always, thanks to everybody for liking and subscribing and getting those notifications. It was a wild, old-fashioned show today, and we had good numbers on the recruiting show today as well. So we do appreciate all your support. And at noon, it is House Divided with the Kique Lockett decision and reaction. We'll let you know what happens there. This evening at 6, it is Football with Friends with Alex and Cody. And then tonight at 8:30, The Outsiders, Bo, Chance, Jason Dick is going to be back with us tonight. And we're going to try to grab Jeff Ketchum to talk about practice a week in. We'll see how that goes tonight on The Outsiders at 8:30. So thank you for getting Orange Bloods Live in your life. Make sure you are subscribing. Let's get those subscriber numbers up. That is free to subscribe to the YouTube page at Orange Bloods Live, in case you don't know. Like, subscribe, get those notifications so you know when all the shows are happening. We will be back next Wednesday at 10 a.m. with another recruiting hour. Until then,